Hello and welcome to another video from the only YouTube channel you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And today's video is going to be about working with hardware cloth. Now, I made some chicken tractors a while back and I left out the part about how it works with the hardware cloth. So I decided that I would make a video on the next chicken tractor. Well, wouldn't you know it, I built that chicken tractor and both of them, both sides I had was 8 feet. And the hardware cloth I had was exactly 8 feet, so there wasn't really nothing to show you other than just nailing it down. And you just use plain old standard staples to nail hardware cloth to a wooden frame, and I think everybody pretty much knows how to do that. However, on these chicken tractors, I didn't have exact dimensions on my hardware cloth, so I had to stitch them together. You see, these still look rather neat, and here's one over here I stitched together. See there where it's stitched? And I'm going to show you how to do that right now with a couple of pieces of hardware cloth that I got here. If you notice, I hope you can see those. One of them is nice and smooth on top and the other one is pokey. Got little prickles. So what you need to have both of these like this one right here. We're going to use these Emt scissors, and these are real cheap junky ones from Harbor Freight. Cost probably nothing. But anyhow, if you see, they just cut it right off. Do a perfect job. You can use wire cutters if you want. If they're brand new, old wire cutters won't do it. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to overlap these. I'm going to overlap them. You can go just the one. See how that is? That's the way it looks. I like to go over to about right here. And you can bend this with your fingers. It ain't a big deal, and you don't need a special tool to do it. One at a time. And I use some needle nose pliers to do it. No matter what size needle nose pliers, you can use anything. Use my fingers most of it, but to get them real tight, use needle nose. Now, the only problem with this is that this is galvanized metal. Galvanized metal means it's steel that has been hot dipped in zinc. And the zinc acts kind of like a paint, just a little bit more permanent. But when you cut a piece of galvanized metal, where you cut it, you're exposing that steel, and the steel will rust. And what's worse is when you bend it, where you bend it, it will rust. So either way, you're going to lose. But it doesn't make any difference because nothing lasts forever. But we're going to make this tight enough that a fish can't get through, because this here, even though we're building chicken tractors, you can make homemade fish traps, which are a really good survival tool. And you can make them out of nothing but some plain old hardware cloth. And we ain't going to go any longer than that. But there you go. That seam right there, and I've only gone down 3 squares. That seam right there is as strong as a hardware cloth itself. But I'm going to show you some other ways you can connect metal using J-clips and J-clip pliers. I've had these J-clip pliers for probably 30 years. Let's see, that's a J-clip or a cage clip. And maybe that, if you go to a hardware store and tell them what you want, you ain't got to tell them the exact right name of it. But just load it like that. Put it wherever you got to work. We'll put it on this edge. It's kind of hard to work in the middle. And usually when you're putting traps together, you're only going to be working on an edge anyway. You're not going to be splicing metal. See how that's put together now? And that's J-clip pliers or cage pliers. Now on these smaller ones, because you see you got different meshes, like if you're making a minnow trap, you don't want to use 1/2 inch spaced squares. You want this 1/4 inch to catch minnows, and minnows can be used for bait, or you can actually eat them. You can take just a cup of rice and a handful of minnows and boil it all together. Eat the whole minnow and the rice. And this is our, this right here is what the 1/2 inch looks like compared to it. Now you want hardware cloth anytime a job is important. A lot of times people will try to make enclosures for chickens with poultry wire or chicken wire, and guess what? It's got that name because that's about all it'll work is some chickens. If you build something out of this, chickens will not get out. But generally, that's not a problem. The problem is predators getting in, and predators can oftentimes work through this. I've seen predators eat holes in chicken wire. So you don't want to use that for anything that's important. Now, another tool you could use to work with chicken wire or hardware cloth is hog nose rings. And the way these work, I'm going to show you with a big one. You just put that's what your hog ring looks like, and this is used for upholstery. You really don't use it for traps, but I figured since I got the tool, I'd have these, and I've had them forever and never have used them. But you can see what's going on, and you can actually repair things with that pretty easy. Now, they sell these 3 or 4 different types. Some of them got a return spring on them, or a spring to hold it shut, and I don't really like that. And some of them don't have this little thumb screw. But I like the thumb screw because if you're making a cage and it needs a door, you don't want to clamp down all the way and make it tight. You want it to be sort of loose, and this here just keeps you from clamping it too far down. When you're working with cages, and see even here they got this holding together chicken wire, poultry netting. This is called crab pot trap rings. These are the same as them hog nose rings, they just smaller so that you can use them with smaller wire. And I'll load that up for you so you can see what it looks like. This is another way to connect hardware cloth, and all you got to do is put it in there and squeeze, and that's about as I got my thumb screw set too tight because I just showed off how to use that. But here we go. And the good thing about that is if you're making a small trap for a small animal, you can use these instead of those J-clip rings and save yourself some money. Plus, with the smaller mesh you're going to have to use, you can get into tighter spaces. But basically, that's all you need to know about working with hardware cloth. And just notice that you're going to have to use a little bit of finesse, because if you have to make a bend or something, you can take 2 2x4s and clamp them together and just bend it all as one unit, or you could even just work it with your fingers slowly to get the same effect. There ain't no science here other than the physics of the fact that metal will hold a shape after you bend it. But anyway, that's everything you need to know when you're building a trap or putting a chicken wire or hardware cloth onto some kind of a pen or chicken tractor or screen, because all my screens on my chicken house are lined with this, because that plain old screen will not hold out a predator. So you have to put this in on top. Anyways, you're going to keep some poultry, you're going to work with a hardware cloth. That's all you need to know. If you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.